It's
It's the Power FM Morning Show.
Welcome back to the show.
And welcome to the Power FM Morning Show podcast. I'm Chris, and this is I forget which episode. I've lost track. We've only done
I thought you forgot my name for a
8 or
second.
9.
I was like,
I was
my
gonna, yes,
friend.
and she's Dawn. And this is episode I don't remember.
I don't either.
Yes, and so we're going to talk about the Mandela Effect today, and that's something I just watched a documentary. I've heard about it, and I've thought, well, it's just kind of like flat Earth. People loved debating it and talking about it. And the Mandela Effect is essentially remembering something differently than other people remember. And how does that happen?
But it's like a bunch of people remembering it differently than
And so, like, it's something. Is there some warping going on in the space-time continuum due to the super collider in Switzerland merging us with another universe? And so some people remember one way and some people remember another. Or if it's merging together, then what's happening is if we are changing as people and we're switching places, like the men in the high castle. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to throw some things at you to see how you remember them. Because for me, I remember everything the way it really is, except for this last one.
Okay.
And I thought,
sure of
there
yourself.
is no way, because I get most of them, right the way that it really is, not remembering it, differently or incorrectly or whatever, but this one. And so,
Okay.
let me start with the first one with you. This is obviously one of and the Mandela was named after Nelson Mandela, who was in prison in South Africa. And then some people remember that he passed away in prison. And I remember that he was released from prison and became the president of South Africa. And so, but there's some people that think, something differently. So that's where that kind of name comes from.
Yeah.
So here's one of them. And a lot of them have to do with, for some reason, product brands or movie dialogue.
I feel like maybe things that we saw as children, like certain things like children's books and stuff like that.
How do you remember things that you haven't seen or heard
in
its in the original way since you were a child? So so here's one. I'll have to do a little bit of sound effect for you. Obi-Wan never told you about what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. What came next?
Do you want me to tell you okay,
what's the first thing that popped in your head?
The first thing that pops in my head is Luke, I am your father.
Yes, that's why a lot of people remember it.
Right.
And what he really said, it was, when Luke goes, he told me you killed him. And he goes, no, I am your father.
So I've seen that one, and I've seen the video enough where I still feel like I could have manipulated video because I thought I remembered it being, Luke, I am your father. But yes. I mean, I've seen the video that supposedly proves it. That's where my conspiracy theorists kind of.
But what happens is people misquote it, and they misquote it in movies and stuff. And Chris Farley gets right up to a fan and says, Luke, I'm your father, and so that's what you go, well, that's how it went. That's how I remember it. Or even this one. And I haven't seen this movie, which is went a long time until I watched it with my granddaughter, and but for years heard it quoted one way, and this is not the way it's quoted. The Wicked Queen from Snow White comes up to the mirror and says,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?"
Yes, so that's why what I've been told, or anybody talking about it to me all those years. So I never saw it originally, and she says magic mirror on the wall.
Did I get the rest of it right?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
but
good.
it's
I'll
not
go with
mirror
that.
mirror, it's magic mirror. It's
Magic
always
mirror.
in the Mandela effect, it's always one little teensy tiny little thing that's different.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
like, people not knowing how to spell their baloney. My baloney has a second name, it's
Mayer.
well,
Is it
yeah, that's how I
M-E?
remember it, but some people remember it Meyer.
I wonder if that's, like, more about who you know that's last name was Mayer, Oscar Mayer,
Yeah,
Mayer,
I
and
don't
how
know.
they interesting. Like, what
Choosy
all goes
mother.
into it? What all goes into people remembering it incorrectly?
But, being around people and they talk about it, and then it's almost like how slang starts or,
Yeah.
and or that kind of thing. Now, I remember well, let's just go back to, Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, and I've never seen Casablanca all the way from beginning to end, but anybody that would do an impression of Humphrey Bogart would go, would try to do a quote from that movie is, "Play it again, Sam."
Yeah.
And he never says that. He says, like, I think he says something to the effect of "Play it again like you played it for her." No, no, he didn't say again. Play it like you played it for her. And so when Rich Little does an impression of Humphrey
Mhm.
Bogart, he says, "Play it again, Sam," because that immediately takes you into context. Just like Luke,
Yes.
I am your father. If you just come up there and go, "I am your father." What movie is that from? Well, I don't know. How about Luke? I am your father. Oh, Star Wars Episode 2. And
Yeah.
or 4, 5, episode 5, because we know prequels.
Yeah.
You gotta
We
number
know.
them right.
Right.
But anyway, so that's how it's kind of a shortcut, to communicate context with
Right.
just by adding something, just one word, a name, or something
Yes.
like that. So, but this is like choosy mothers choose
Jif.
right. Some people remember it as Jiffy peanut butter. I
Really?
don't know who these people are, but
N
you'll see, like, there was a hamburger place in this documentary I was watching that made some sort of a peanut butter hamburger, and it had Jiffy.
Ew.
It had the Jif logo, but with Jiffy, and here's what I'm thinking is they have basically, how you can get your peanut butter and your chocolate, and you can smash it together?
Yeah.
What happens when you get Jif and Skippy peanut butter and smash it together to get more peanut butter? You get Jiffy peanut butter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. These days, though, I think choosy mothers choose gifts. So again,
Okay, and this one is a lot of people, gosh, they get this one wrong, and I went back and watched it, and then when I watch it and hear it again and again, and I go, "Yeah, well, that's what I remember really now," but when you talk about it amongst other people, it's like you'll say it, "My mama always said, life blank,
life is like a box of chocolates.
you're in the improper tense. It's life was like a box of chocolate."
Oh,
You never
okay.
know what you're gonna get. So that's he went from, past to present,
Okay.
in a few seconds, and so our minds don't want it to we want it to be correct. So people who did
Yes.
really good in English, did really well in English.
I sure am glad I came out on the right end of that one.
It's all real and real good. Ultimately, that your mind tries to correct that, and also everyone else quotes it in whether it's in the Academy Awards or anything like that. They'll quote it like "Life is like a box of chocolates."
Yes.
So
I
I
still
I,
stand by
I do
that.
remember all these pretty much correctly, except for this one.
Okay.
It's a beautiful day
In
in.
the neighborhood.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
Do you think
I know that
or
for all my life. I mean, that's another thing, but it really truly is as time when your memories are starting to fade, and everyone's discussed it a certain way, and I
uh
watched, Mr. Rogers in the '70s as a child, and
I
b
you
but
know, and
I would have bet all the money ever minted from the beginning of time until the end of time that he said,
the
"In
neighborhood.
the neighborhood." But he goes
So,
on,
You know that I didn't really watch Mr. Rogers that much because I did not like Lady Elaine. She scared me, right?
Oh,
Remember we
yeah,
talked
she
about
was
that.
creepy, and she looked like she'd been drinking a lot.
She did.
Big
She
rosy
did.
big bulbous nose, big rosy cheeks.
But I
She
didn't
looks
know that that was a cause for that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm wondering if I kind of got it mixed up with. Did you go back and look at Eddie Murphy from Saturday Night Live and how
He sang
he?
it, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood." He sang it.
Okay, Eddie Murphy is
So
a
there
bad influence.
and
Yes.
ultimately, a lot of people remember that. You're getting more texts from him. But, anyway, that's the one that got me, and so the Mandela Effect I thought I had a perfect score, but no, Mr. Rogers, I got burned on by Mr. Rogers, and who would have thought
Are you?
Mr. Rogers would ever burn you?
Well, and that's the only one you got wrong. Like every other, all the
No,
other ones,
all
you're
the other ones I
so
remember correctly, except for that one, and I would have swore it was, The Neighborhood.
knowing you like I do. You are very detail oriented in certain things. And so I can see, but I also know that you probably take great pride in being the one who remembers it, being one of the few that remembers it correctly. So congratulations are in order, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll take that as the compliment as it was intended.
Very
That's a
sincere. Very sincere.
that wraps up another show. Thanks for watching.
Now let us imagine that you must identify your station. Power FM. You might say,